This morning I've set myself quite a different scene. This glorious view in Scotland. I believe it's near Loch Linnhe, or may well be Loch Linnhe, in these beautiful mountains. Been up to Scotland many times in the past, and it is just glorious. And we've got some great lighting going on here and lots of interesting colour. Deep greens in here with these yellow flowers poking up. I don't think they're quite daffodils. I'm not quite sure what they are, but they're very attractive. And excuse me, got a great cloud formation here, like fluffy clouds with some shadow and shadow cast underneath them. So I must try and get that. And also you'll notice the mountains, how blue they are out in the distance. This is the ultraviolet light, and that's why we used to have ultraviolet filters on our cameras in the past to cut it all out, but it's very attractive there in the distance. And the colours in the foreground are much more vivid, as you often get this much more colour density. I must try and catch all those different colours in the lake there, in the loch. And this nice ochre on these rocks here, and the sort of purple in this point here. Try and get some indication of movement on the river, and you'll see just off of the yellow shore there, we've got a band of quite a different blue here. I want to try and get that. And our greens, look how different those greens are. Just to the left of this white building, you've got this bright acid yellowy green, and then we've got darker greens here, which have got a bit variety there. I have to put more blues in there, but we have purples in the mountainside as well. And we've got suggestions of little houses there. And a yacht, I've got to get the yacht in, and a clunk of a little group of houses here. You can't see them individually, but I've got to try and hint at them. And also on the hillside, look at that shadows. These are all cast from the clouds, and the fissures and the rock there, and a little rock face out there, a little rocky outcrop, and the shadow cast in these valleys. So I've got to try and get some form into it. And I have to do that by getting the light and dark in the right position. So that's what we're up to this morning. So let's have a little go. We're going on a trip to Scotland. So we start off, as usual, with wetting in the sky area. And we've got lots of sky. Absolutely incredible, a lot of sky. It's a nice feature of this photograph, so I've got to try and make something of that, I think. Let's see, down over the mountains, right, I think you see the shine on the paper as it absorbs in. This is Langton's Rough, 140 pounds in weight, which is an indication it's a lot of rough texture on it. So I'm going to make myself a little clearer palette area. Just wipe off the worst of the old colours. I want to keep a fairly clean blue. I think I'm going to have a cerulean, nice bright cerulean colour. Which is, I must make sure I put it up so you can see. Make myself a nice little puddle of that, and wipe that in, remembering to put a fair bit in because it's going to dry a lot lighter. Just getting these judgments right. I often go a little bit mean on that blue, and then when it's dried it's not as bright as I would want it. So I'm not going to sweep it down this time as I normally do. I'm going to just wiggle here. Let's see, slightly different method to what I normally do. I usually do a sort of wash all the way down, but today I'm going to go a little differently. So I want to, and you see it's bleeding down a little bit there. Got a nice little line. Let's bring our blue down a little bit there. And right, we wash off our brush. And I need to put in this area, this, I'm going to leave the white as my cloud, but I don't want it totally white. I have to put in some purpley colour. I've got some purple here, magenta or purple, so I must have a little bit left there. See if I can have a little sweeping in under these clouds to give myself some shadow. Right, and some there. I think I'm going to soften the edges. So you do that by getting a damp brush, and you see where the edges are there, a bit too severe, so I'm dapping them out well I can at this point with our, I think I need to, perhaps I could soften up a bit there. Right. I can clear a bit of a white cloud coming in from the top there. I think I can improve that if I make that a little brighter and wispy in parts. And that edge where that blue's meeting the whites there, I can soften that a little bit. It's a bit of a sharp, hard edge there. Right. Let's leave it like that. Don't fiddle. I wonder, could do with a little bit more whitey sky. I wonder if I can lift some. I need a different brush perhaps. I've got a flat brush here, 3/4 inch flat. I think that'll allow me to lift that up a little bit. Right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Right, the next objective is we should sweep in something with our water. I'm going to stay with the same colour. You say you should use the same as your sky. You shouldn't switch the main colours because it's reflecting the sky we've got up there. But what I will do is drop in some different colours, different blues, to reflect the sky. We've got shadow colours there. Drop some purples. I think I'm going to bring my water down a little bit more here. And with a streak of light, different. Right. I think we'll bring the water down in places. There's the odd bit that's darker. Just in front by this yacht, so there's some darker elements, and very likely out there. Right, leave that for the moment. Just in front of us here, we've got some different tones of rocks coming here. We need to get some ochres and yellows, I think. This is quite light in places. Some ochre colours there. Right, and this area we have a sort of light brown, slight hints of blues. I need slightly different colour. Just along here there's some, I don't know, purpley dark seaweedy colour, so let's get a bit of purple going again. Ah, yes, that's it. Perhaps a bit of red in it. Yes, that's not too bad. And some stone purpley colours there. This was largely a rocky outcrop here. Right, leave that for the moment. Yes, it does join there. in the foreground here, I've got some slightly orangey colours. That's a bit yellow, a bit more. I'm using a 3/4 inch flat here. Sometimes it's good to ring the changes. See if you can get some different effects going. That rocky outcrop too there. And the front of the green, this green area, we have light. I think I need to get some different colour in there. I'm leaving a little bit of sparkle in the paper. You can do that if you've got paper which is rough with a bit of texture in it. We'll leave those white areas, and let's get some loose wash of green in here. But I want to keep it fairly muted initially because I want to put some dark greens with some thick dry paint when it's dried, so I can so this is sort of base to give me a base colour against which I can lay in some darker or different sorts of greens. Actually, they won't all be dark, but I'm just varying, putting a bit of sap green in here. That was, and it swept along there. I think I can step that up a little bit in intensity and bringing again just a background into green. Get rid of this white, and then we put some dark Hooker's green mixtures with others. So let's leave it at that for the moment. Actually, I could put in a little few flecks, I think, of a bit of yellow. Well, it is, that's a bit too dark. It's a bit too bright yellow. To tone that down a little bit. I've got different, put a bit of ochre in there. See, I've got different, I've got lemon yellow there, vivid, cadmium yellow, and yellow ochre. So that'll tone it down a little bit. Allow me to dab in some of these rocks which are showing themselves along that rocky outcrop and along here. Right. Can I put a bit of yellow there? No, too much yellow. Need to put some more blue in there, a bit more readable. So dry off my brush. I'm going to go for a bit of slightly different. This might be a bit of a Prussian blue. Gosh, that is a very vivid. Let's step it up a bit. Right, I think what I'll do is wipe some out. That's the way to do it, I think. We get some of our, I must keep a straight line from my C. Sure there. Right. Dry off that brush. It's not what we need. We need to something with a bit of an edge that I can remove. Yes, that's what we need. We can do that. Get some. Right. And I think I'm going to drop in some purple. There was quite a striking sliver of purple here. And these were purple as well. Yes, in front of the right. This needs to be darker. So I'll darken that up with that purple, put a bit of blue. So you've got to have contrast with watercolours. So one's a little timid sometimes. Right, okay. This came in a bit, right. I think I need to sweep something in the hills now so that we can start to see our values a little bit. I've got actually on this there's certainly patches of it. Try and keep my mountain form. I'll wrap these in. More green as it came down here. I'll drop some purples in, and comes down here. I've got a woody seashore as well. Got a clumps of trees, and out here, very pale on the hillside there. Got to get that right, and then I've got to put some blues in there to show the distant hills. And I think we get with a smaller brush in a minute and do some purples and blues on the mountainside. Let's do that right away while we can. What brush? Yes, something like this. We've got to get, there were bits of darker green, which perhaps I should do right away. So again, it's putting one colour up against the next is what gives you some sort of colour and shape. Yeah, it's quite a woody outcrop. There, quite a shape going up the hill somewhat there, and again comes down here behind this little village that we've got, and on the hillside some. Right. Now I think I need to put in, trying to find the hillside a little bit more. Go gentle with this. Certainly blues are predominantly blues and purples. Let's get something in here. There was a big shadow area here coming from the, probably a cast from a cloud shadow maybe. I've got to keep a fairly tight definition hard edge here so we can see our mountain side defined against the skyline. So I'm going to do that. And out here, different colours, and as I said, a bluey colour in the far distance. Let's try and create something. Oh, I could make my shadow a bit darker. Well, I've got that. A good idea to squint your eyes as well and see where you need to be darker. There's a sort of fissure coming down there. But that was really like a shape of like a diamond shape really. Shadow can right down there, little lines of shadows, another bit here, and different blues there, blues cutting in there from the mountainside. Let's deal with the blue then. Get some ultramarine, I think. Put some purple with it. Perhaps a little different blue. Yes. It's quite dark. Let's see this there. That is a little too dark at the moment, but I'm going to wipe some of that out with my damp brush to try to define some of the hill shape. And the ones behind will be in a lighter blue. So down that side of that hill there. Right. Let's think about that. I think a bit more. Need to lighten up this. I'll take a damp brush and just lift slightly. Although some in the, I want some in the distance to be light, some in the foreground to be much darker and bluer. Right, blue actually came right down to the lock there. Right, trying to retain some hint darks and lights so it will make the mountains look as they've got a bit of form to them. They're not just stuck on. I've got to try. I think that edge there a bit too hard. Let me think now. Painting is a very active process, really. If you're concentrating anyway, you have to give some thought, step back sometimes, and think about what you're doing. I need to put in a little, perhaps we should put our beach in. What we can do with that? Just in the far shore there. A little light. Sweep of sand. Just a hint. Quite pale, really. But I've got to remember, it will certainly get get lighter as it dries. So I wonder if that's light enough. We got enough beach. Um, Let me think. I think I need I don't think my purples are as good as they should be. Let's try and beef it up a bit in places. That's a bit better. Right. Let's think about this now. I need to get something in this foreground. So we've got to get some greens together. Is I've got 3 greens. I've got, you can see there, sap green, viridian, that's very lurid, and hooker's green. So by mixing the 2, I can, or the 3, I can get different intensities of green. So I'm going to make sure we got enough variety in there. And behind the village there were some quite bright greens. Must be woodland there, but I've got to get a nicer green in here, I think. Bring that down to this area, and we need to beef up our background green a bit. Well, I said I wanted to keep it fairly light, so I can go in with a liner, a rigger, or fairly big-ish rigger, but will give me some chance to create some of the plants, all these flowers. But I've got to give some sort of background here. Right, well, we're getting near there. of darks as well. You can see the rough nature of this paper allows, if you drag it over lightly, it leaves little bits free. It catches other bits of the paint. And then I think we really have to get in with some other greens now, some flicks that bear some suggestion that they might be plants. Get the side of your brush as well to give you some of the lower texture. And got to really vary it though. I think have a little darker in our foreground. And then let's see if I can create some form with these. Put some yellowy greens in as well. Again, it's a question of timing with watercolour. That's half of the fun. A somewhat darker one here now, and I noticed some of them are sort of a bit yellowy and sort of umber brackeny form. So right, let's vary the colour somewhat now. Here is in this left hand corner, there's a whole bunch of old bracken, dead bracken I think. So yes, and even within this darker colours, there are yellowy bits, bracken again, in our base of our green plants here. Right, let me think. I need to anchor them down a little bit in the ground here. Got a white space left there, so I'll just take a fairly dry brush. Now, I mustn't overdo this, otherwise you'll lose the form of the brush strokes. See, they create something there. but it's all a bit flat at the moment, all the same colour. So here I think I'm going to step up the dark, vivid, or darker green. And I do that by mixing a mixture of my greens, but then you add some blue, different blue. I've got various blues. I've got cerulean, cadmium and ultramarine, but the essential thing is to get it a bit darker, and you can make your greens darker by putting a bit of burnt umber with them, so they look a bit darker and stand out more. Yes, that's, you see that standing out a lot more now against my other ones. So got to try and introduce some of them in some areas. Must try and avoid getting all across though, because you get a bit samey then. We haven't introduced any of our yellowy greens yet. Mainly concentrate to get it a bit darker here. Right. Now, so let's try and get some yellowy greens in. So again, we take some nice yellow, lemon yellow I've got, which is quite a nice yellow, and see if I can create some of the yellow. Yes, I can just see it there. I don't know if the camera's catching that as well as I'm seeing it. No, that's gone a bit greeny. Pump up the yellow a bit. Right. Just trying to fleck it. There's rather the tip of the brush, and I think I'm right down the bottom here. I'll put a bit of some sort of brackeny colours with my dress. I've got some light red, which is actually, they call it light red in art, but it's like a reddish brown really. Bricky red, I suppose. Right. Yes. So I think I need to put in some darker colours there on that bit of weed, or I think it's weed actually. I think it's seaweed. So how can I create that? Just try on your palette and create something which is of the right tonal value anyway. Yes, definitely that's reading a bit darker. I think we need to do that. And what about some dry marks in the sea? Right. Let's see if I can I've got to put a little house in somewhere. Well, not a little, there's a white building over there. I think while I want to try and take away some of those, get it a bit flatter there. Just wash out make sure it reads straight. I'll see. This comes like this, right. Yes, I think that'll do it. Yeah, I'll put in the white building, I think. And we've got to put some bright flowers in there as well. Yellow flowers. Yes, let's get a smaller brush and see what we can do with some suggestion of our house. I'm going to do that with my gouache, which is opaque watercolour, because I want to keep it fairly bright out there. Again, it will be just something of a vague suggestion, really, of our house. And it stood here. I've looked at the shape. Got a wall on the front there, and two elements of it. Something coming off here. And we have our yacht as well. We can put him in while we're at it. There's a nice sail there. And the hull, which I'll do in a minute. Just again a suggestion of it, really. And we've got a cluster of houses here, which I'll put some different shapes in there in a moment, which helps the eye. And in this rocky bit here, where I got all this ochre, there was white stones and shells. So I'll just dab in a bit with my gouache there. And there's quite a bright area there, catching sun. So again, it's light and dark. Put a bit of light against this dark. It should emphasize both elements, make it view dark, it's dark and light. Emphasize the lights as well. Right, this I think I need to push that rock out here. I think I will put some different colours in here in a minute. Did come all along there actually. Now, do I need to put any lighter elements in our hillside? Perhaps we can at places. Where the sun, again with a dry paper, with a rough paper and a dry brush, I can rub it over a little bit and the texture of the paper picks it up somewhat. My village, have I got anything? Have I got enough? Loch Linnhe. This is, I went there many, many years ago, but I can't remember it now. I used to hitchhike through the Scottish countryside. Wow, it was fun. I went up as far as Ullapool and Loch Linnhe, I think it was. That was fun. And Oban, I remember going to Oban. Right. Let's say I've got my house here. I think I need to pull up the water a little bit up against it there. So I'll get a bit of a darker blue. So I can lay it up against the white. Hopefully it will emphasize it a bit more. Yes, that's it. Do I go with a little more cerulean perhaps? Right, let's review the situation. Perhaps now is the time to see if I could put some yellow flowers in there. I've got some nice French Sennelier paints. I've got some vivid florally colours. It's been chosen specifically for people who do botanical painting, which I don't do very often, but my daughter gave me some lovely paints, and I'm going to try that, see if I can get some nice yellow straight out of the out of the tube so we can see what we can get. Get some little blobs going. Just a few, mustn't overdo it. Some little tiny ones as well. Remember to make them a bit smaller when they're further away from you. And then you can go for a bigger one in the foreground. Right. How do I think? Let's leave it in that, I think. Just a few bright leaves. Right. And then I've got some oranges as well. This left-hand corner, I think, could do with a little pump up with the orange. I think I've got some here. Again, Sennelier. Actually, what happens if I put a little dab in some of these flowers? It might make them read a little. Yeah, why not? And I say this rocky outcrop, they had some light, whatever you get on the ears of the seashore, you get all sorts of colours on the rocks. And I say down here was like a tangle of bracken. So I'll just try and put a few marks like this. Then I'll go with my credit card. You can do this with your palette knife as well. Actually, you make some lovely whites and flecks if you do it at the right time. I think I've lost it there. Put a little dampening. Yes, that should do it. A little different colour in the base to anchor it a little bit. Now I need to deal with, put a few marks in there that might suggest we've got buildings. So what should I do that with? Any sort of fairly neutral colour, just so I can put some marks into the whites there, which help suggest that you've got shape of a house. You can do the outlines, a few rooftops, roof shapes is what you want to do. Got something there, and my yacht. What should I do? Put something in there to help suggest. Right. And out here. Right. What do I think now? Again, the age-old problem, when to stop. When have you done enough? Probably when you're struggling to say, what else can I do? It's probably when you should stop. But it's not a scientific measure. You just got to. You're doing it for fun anyway. Oh yes, I've got some nice greens in this Sennelier. Look, can you see that? That's added a third or fourth green to my attempt to capture these big stack of whatever they are. Maybe some of the viewers who are into gardening or wildlife can tell me. And a little darker in some of these lower bits. Right. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you've enjoyed it, my attempt to capture this beautiful loch in west coast of Scotland, Loch Linnhe. Gosh, when this lockdown's over, I'd like to hit the road again. I've done a lot of travelling in Scotland. I love it. Right. Okay, that's enough. There you go then. Loch Linnhe in Scotland. Well, there's the finished article of Loch Linnhe in Scotland. I tried to capture the colours. You never actually reproduce the photograph, but then you don't want to do that. This is a painting, it's a different animal altogether, but you try and capture something of the scene, and I've tried that. I'm reasonably happy with it, but you can always do better. But it's a bit of fun anyway. I hope you enjoyed it.